Hi, I'm Neil and thank you very much for joining me today for a review of Looot. Yes, that's right, there's an extra O in there. This is a lovely little worker placement game which plays 2 to 4 players, says 35 minutes, feels about right. And I've been playing this an awful lot over the last month. So let me take you down to the table, show you how it plays. It'd be quite an in-depth how it plays, but it's not too much to take in. It's just a few little things to show you. And then I'll bring you back up for my final thoughts. Okay. Cheers!
Okay, so this is Loot set up. I'm only showing you one of the players' individual boards. There would be another one for another player in a two-player game. Obviously, each player would have their own. To set up the main map, you take as many of the map pieces as there are players, place them together, place the water one on one edge, the axe one on the other edge, and then you place some of these scoring tiles out. So that's basic setup. What we've also done is we've placed 3 castles on each castle space, 2 towers on each tower space, and 2 houses on each tower space. Each player's got their own individual board with all of their Vikings, and we've got the general components around the outside. We also have the loot bag with all of the scoring tiles, which has been used to populate these. And we're ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you closer into the main board and then bring you back out to show you what happens on the player's board. But first of all, let's see what happens on the main board. Okay, so the red player's going first. They will take one of their Vikings and they have to place their first Viking next to one of these water spaces. So they've got very little choice at the moment. They're going to get sheep, axes, sheep, sheep or sheep. So let's say, for example, they go here. That's their first go. They would then take one of the sheep tiles and place it on their main board. I'll show you how that happens in a minute. Once they've placed that, they can optionally take one of these score multipliers and place that on their board as well. And then it would be the blue player's turn. Now the blue player can once again place next to one of the water, or they can place next to any other Viking on the board. So they could go there, 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 or there. They choose to go here. They grab an axe, they place that axe on their board, and they optionally take one of these scoring tiles. This keeps on happening until a couple of different things could occur. So let's say, for example, a bit further down the line, or let's say next go, the red player goes there. They would take a gold, which is here. They would also, because the rules state if you have one Viking next to a house, you get to take a house and you place that on your board also. If ever you have a group of 4 Vikings, any 4 Viking group, so for example that, next to a castle, you take a castle, place that on your board. If you connect 2 towers with a continuous line of your own colour, you take 2 of the towers. And if you got, as an example, 8 Vikings near a castle, you would take the second castle from that group. And if you got 12 near that castle, you would take the third castle from that group. But obviously everyone's going to be fighting for all of that stuff. Other things that can occur, you can, obviously if you're here, you would get 2 houses. If you ever deplete it by putting more people, then there are no more houses available. Other things you can consider. On your turn, you're going to be collecting axes, trees, sheep and gold, but there's also these bonus scoring up this side track here, and when you get to 2 axes you can choose to claim this one. You can only do one of these claims during the game, and that would be worth 3 points. But as you can see, if you manage to get to 6 axes, that would be worth 21 points. So let's briefly talk about the scoring and then I'll show you what you're doing on the player board. Handily, on each player board, it does show you the scoring. So, as an example, you're going to be getting 2 points for each gold that's on your player board, 1 for sheep, and so on and so forth. There's these special tiles which we go through in a minute. But what happens when you take these modifiers is you would place these on your board. If you manage to achieve that, you turn it over, you increase your gold multiplier by that amount. So from now on, the gold, instead of being worth 2 points per gold, it'll be worth 4 points per gold is added to the multiplier. So these are really great ways of doing it. Now, there are 2 colours. There's the lighter brown ship, and then there's the darker, like brown black ship. These are higher multipliers. So as you can see here, this tree one is worth an extra 1 point per tree, but this darker ship is worth 2 points per tree. So let me take you down to the main player board. So you now know what's happening on the main board. Let me show you what you're actually trying to do on the player board. So this is the red players board. So when they place their Viking onto the main shared board, and let's say, for example, they get a sheep, they then take that sheep and they place it anywhere they like on their main board, on their player board, should I say. So why are you going to place things in certain ways? For example, at the beginning of the game, we have these 3 tiles randomly allocated to us, and that shows you what you need to do to achieve it. So this one here needs to have 1 sheep next to it, 1 axe and 2 towers. So we've taken a sheep, so we're going to place it there because that meets one of its criteria. It's not completed yet, but we've taken one of them. Like I said earlier on, we can also take optionally score multipliers. Now you'll notice this one also requires a sheep and 2 axes. So if I place this here, when I place an axe there, that satisfies both that condition and that condition. So we're going to keep on doing that. We're going to be placing trees and we're going to be grabbing houses. And let's say, for example, we've managed to do this. As soon as you have placed all the requirements, you can flip this one over. We can score that at the end of the game. Happy days. Similar to if we manage to get some towers, and we managed to get a few axes. We've now done, this requires a sheep, an axe and 2 towers. We've done that one. And like I said, this one requires a sheep and 2 axes. We've also done that one. So as you see, you're going to be reducing down your space. You're going to be trying to combo as many of these scoring increases, multipliers as absolute possible. And there are 3 ways in which you can help yourself to do that. There are these 3 special shields that you use once in the game. You could use all 3 on one go if you wanted to, but normally you use them on different goes. Let me show you what they do. Basically, this one would give you double the amount of goods. So if I placed my Viking on a sheep space and use that, flip it over, I'd get 2 sheep. This one allows you to play a second Viking after you've played the first one. So in theory, you can have 2 goes in once, which is fantastic. And this one allows you to place a Viking in the same space as another Viking, because normally you have to go in an empty space. This one allows you to place in a space that's already occupied. Really handy for combining groups up to maybe grab one of the castles, or maybe to make a continuous line to grab the towers. And earlier on I mentioned if you claim for a certain amount. So here, for example, I've got 2 axes. So if I claimed this one for 2 axes, I turn it over, stick it in this position here, that's where it has to go, and that's 3 points. And that takes us to the end of the game. I'll show you a previously scored game here. So you see, as you'll see, you normally, let's move this over for a moment, you normally get 4 points per castle, and as you can see here, this player got 4 points, this player was me. I had 2 castles at the basic level 8. You're then going to score for your towers, including multipliers, your houses, your gold, your sheep, your trees, your special buildings that are placed at the beginning of the game. You're going to score for your axes, your axe benefit that you claimed. You're also going to lose 5 points for any scoring multiplier that you didn't achieve by the end of the game. You're going to add that all up. The player with the most points wins. Let me take you up top, give you my final thoughts.
Okay, I hope that look at Looot gave you a good feel for the game. And straight out the bat, I'm going to say I absolutely love this game. This is a fantastic, easy to understand worker placement game. You put out one of your Vikings and they have to go on a new space next to another Viking or the water, and then you get where you place them. Now, the complication comes from that puzzle in front of you. The main board is really easy to understand and read. Yeah, I want to connect up the towers with my own little Vikings to get the towers. I want to have 4 Vikings connected and next to a castle to get a castle. I want to be next to the houses. These are all very simple concepts you can teach really, really quickly. But when you come down to your main player board and what you're trying to do is solve numerous problems with, like, okay, this one needs a sheep, this one needs a sheep. So if I take this multiplier, which also needs a sheep and goes here, 1 sheep would satisfy all 3, but then, oh my God, I need 2 axes and I'm running out of people, and so on and so forth. So what's really clever is that spatial awareness puzzle you're trying to solve in front of you. Now that could be construed as the negative point of the game, because for some people that don't like spatial awareness games and I don't, they just find it hard to compute, then that might not be enjoyable for them. But for me and for everyone I've taught this to, that's been one of the fun parts of the game. So there's definitely direct conflict going on between all the other players. You've got the axes you're trying to claim quickly. You've got the actual scoring that you really don't want anyone to grab before you can grab. And you really, really want to get to those two things connected, and lots of people. So there's lots and lots of player interaction going. No negative interaction. Sure, you're going to block some spaces, but there's ways of jumping into the same space and so on and so forth. So it never feels overly mean. Now, if somebody just grabs the spot that you were about to go, which means that the last house is lifted off the board, then, well, there you go. That's the way the game goes. But it's fine. Now, it scales amazingly. Like I said, when you play two players, you just play with 2 bits of the map. When you play 3 or 4, you add a third or a fourth piece of the map. So it just always feels as though there's always plenty of options, plenty of places to go. On the 4-player game, you can be right across the map. It's very, very exciting, really good fun. So yeah, I love pretty much everything about it. I don't have a preferred player count. I love 2, 3 and 4. The time of about 30 minutes seems spot on, regardless of the player count. Maybe with a bit of a teach, it might take a bit longer. The scoring at the end, it's a bit of a point salad, so that can be a bit detrimental to some people. It does take a little while. I've got 3 multipliers for this and I had that and so on and so forth. So there's a bit of scoring, but as you can see, what that does is that opens up the game for you. It allows you to, I'm going to focus all out on trees and sheep this game. Ignore everything else. I'm just going to go trees and sheep everywhere, try and get as many multipliers. And that's a great thing you can do. You can go for that. You can try and increase your gold multipliers, the castle multipliers, whatever you want to do. You can try and do a bit of everything. And you can try your best. You can try and go for the 6 axes and claim that before anyone else does. There's a multitude of ways of scoring in this game, and that keeps it fresh. Turns are quick. Turns are super, super quick. Place a Viking. I mean, you can once in the game place a second Viking, but even so, that is quick. And placing things on your board, trying to get that puzzle sorted out, that may take 20 seconds or so, but the next player can start their next go anyway, because really you're just doing that on your own. So yeah, it's fantastic. It plays quick. It looks great. The components are lovely for the price you pay. The little Vikings being sculpted out and the trees and everything just looks lovely on the table. So for the price you pay, it's an absolute steal. So this for me has been one of the highlights of the games that I got from UKGE. I absolutely love it. I recommend it to everybody. For me, as far as I'm concerned, if you like games that are easy to set up, nice bit of crunch in there and great player interaction, then this is a game you need to have in your collection. For me, it's bordering on essential. I currently rate it on Board Game Geek as a 8.5. Probably going to go higher over time because I love it. Every time I play it, I get a little buzz of excitement. It's super fun. So yeah, for me, I would say this is buy it if you see it. And it's almost an essential purchase. It's very, very good. So that was my review for Looot. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next one. Okay, cheers.